What's going on, guys? Got my 5%er jug right here, semi-serious. Made it myself with this Sharpie. It's also about 5% full. It's all good though, because I got about 2 more down there. So yeah, anyways, about a week ago I got an email from somebody who I believe found me through YouTube, from this Puritan's Pride company that carries the line Myology, which is this supplement line you see back here. He just wanted to send me some supplements, told me to pick some. I did. He ended up sending me the whole line, so thank you for that. But all this stuff was free, so I'm definitely going to try to keep all bias out of this. I did get it for free, so you can imagine the convenience factor of that. But I'm basically going to go through things that I would normally use that I think are beneficial, and then some of these that I think may not have a huge impact or may not really be beneficial, or just things that you don't need, especially if you are on a budget, because I'm going to keep it real here. Thanks for the shirt. He sent me an XL, so I take that as a compliment. You know, he's not sending me a medium. He probably would have back in May. The good thing about this line, sans the test booster here, everything is pretty conventional. Everything is pretty much, you know, if you were to picture a supplement line, something that involves, you know, each ingredient, each supplement that would serve a purpose, you probably picture something like this. You know, you have your protein, you have your pre-workout. I use both of those. You have BCAAs, which personally I don't always use, but yes, they can be useful. Starting off with their whey isolate here, one thing I noticed, the first thing I noticed right off the bat with this whey isolate is 30 grams of protein per scoop is pretty solid, considering you're looking at 20 to 25 for normal proteins. Now it is an isolate, so you're going to expect that. I know Nitric by Muscle Tech also has 30 grams per scoop. I know Hydro Whey by Optimum Nutrition carries 30 grams per scoop. But these are all more expensive proteins. When you look at isolates, you're looking at a lower carb, lower fat to protein ratio. So for instance, on the macros here, for the chocolate, we're looking at 1 fat, 2 carb, 30 protein. And for the strawberry, we're looking at 0 fat, and I believe 1 carb, 30 protein. So exceptional macros. Price will typically be a little bit higher than your you know, normal whey protein. You know, if you're just going for regular Optimum Nutrition protein or Cellucor Whey. But again, solid proteins. Getting into the taste for these, I had the chocolate today, and the chocolate is pretty much your run-of-the-mill, you know, standard chocolate protein powder. It really didn't stand out to me too much in any regard, but if I had to relate it to something, I'd say it's like hot chocolate cooled down, if that makes sense. It's really just your standard milk chocolate flavor. It's not real rich by any means. However, the scoops are kind of heavy. They're 36 grams per scoop, so it's not really thin either, which I was expecting with an isolate, so that kind of stood out to me a little bit. So if you do like 2 scoops, I believe I did 12 to 16 ounces of water, you're not really getting a crazy thin shake like you'd expect with an isolate. It does have some consistency, some texture to it, and it was pretty solid. So I'd give the taste like a 7.5 out of 10. You know, good taste, something that you wouldn't really get sick of just because it's so standard. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Would I buy isolates normally? Maybe if I was cutting, yeah, just because the macros are friendly. During a bulk, really not concerned with a few extra carbs or fat. Don't know if I'd buy isolates, go out of my way to buy isolates in a bulk, just being honest with you. Now I'm gonna get into the next supplement here, which is the hardcore pre-workout. Really right off the bat, when I looked at the nutrition label here, I was just happy that it was simple backed ingredients, you know, nothing, no proprietary blends or anything crazy that, you know, crazy herbs and shit like that really haven't had any scientific backing. But we're looking at 45 calories for 1 scoop, 4 grams of carbohydrates for 1 scoop, 50 milligrams of niacin, 35 milligrams of sodium, and now getting into the good stuff. Ready? 1 scoop, 2,400 milligrams of beta-alanine. Beta-alanine is what gives you those tingles. It's been shown to assist, I believe, muscle endurance in the gym, strength, and so forth. Arginine, which is a primary pump ingredient, 1,500 milligrams per 1 scoop. Creatine HCl, that is short for creatine hydrochloric acid. It's basically just a different type of creatine. Personally, I don't use this. I just stick with the normal 5 grams of monohydrate a day. But HCl is beneficial for some people who bloat on creatine monohydrate. Personally, I don't bloat at all on monohydrate, and it's really cheap, so I just stick with that. But if you do and you want to try like a different creatine, HCl is great. Do I need it in my pre-workout? No, not really. It's not necessary, but I use a lot of pre-workouts that include it, so I can't say it's not beneficial, if you know what I mean. Agmatine sulfate. Agmatine is another pump ingredient. They have 500 milligrams. I'm not sure how high that dosing is, to be completely honest. I think they kind of just threw a little bit of that in here. But they do have 200 milligrams of caffeine per scoop, so 2 scoops of this is 400 milligrams of caffeine. And purely anecdotally speaking, when I tried this pre-workout yesterday, and I'm comparing this to the current pre-workout stack that I purchased on hand, I have Muscle Tech Anarchy, which I got for buy one get one free, and PES, Physique Enhancing Size High Volume. So I basically mix a pump pre-workout, 2 scoops, with an energy pre-workout. This sort of gave me a better pump, and my energy was the same. So I don't want to say this pre-workout alone attributed to that pump. It could have been something else here that I used with it, but this pre-workout is definitely solid. The taste is fruit punch. I've said in the past, fruit punch is not my favorite. If I had to pick a flavor, fruit punch would probably be the last. I'd probably even pick lemon before fruit punch, and I'm not really a lemon guy either. But I mixed it with Gatorade, and it didn't ruin the Gatorade. Yesterday I mixed it with blue Gatorade, didn't ruin it. So I got a good feeling right off the bat there. And then today, this morning, I had it with water before my cardio. It was my off day today, but I'm addicted to the gym, so I had to go do cardio and abs. And with water, it was better than a lot of fruit punches I've had. I'd say it's better than C4, which is weird because every other C4 flavor trumps this. But C4 by Cellucor, in case you're unaware. It wasn't bad, but obviously it wasn't my favorite. Now, it did have that, I don't know if any of you guys know what I'm talking about here, slight spiciness taste to it. Really odd if you don't know what I'm talking about, but some pre-workouts have like this spicy, I guess is the only way to say it, like kind of hot, like a spicy food, like almost like an aftertaste of that. I don't know what that exactly is, if that's an ingredient in here. I would buy this pre-workout. I think it has solid ingredients, solid energy. Getting into nitric oxide here. I attribute a lot of the pump I got in this pre-workout to this nitric oxide just because it gave me a lot of extra arginine. This has 3 grams of arginine, so that's a lot. Really simple. Nitric oxide is a pump ingredient. It's going to increase your pump in the gym. Every time I've used this, by any brand, any supplement brand, it's given me pretty solid pump. However, I never really go out of my way to buy it. Just gonna keep it real here. Not necessary, not really gonna give you, dramatic muscle building effects. However, if you get a placebo effect from getting a bigger pump in the gym, maybe you try a little bit harder, maybe over time you make more gains. Other than that, not really any major fat loss benefits. It does increase blood flow, so that's good. That may get nutrients to the muscle more efficiently. But the main thing of nitric oxide that I personally anecdotally noticed was improved workout sessions. Just because of the better pump factor, you tend to be more mentally in it, if that makes sense. Getting into branch chains, again, I have a pretty straightforward opinion on these, just like nitric oxide. Typically, I don't buy them, especially if I'm bulking. If you watch my cutting series back during contest prep, you saw I did use flavored branch chains in my prep, mainly just so I could have something nice to sip on that was relatively calorie-free, even though some people say they do contain calories. If you're gonna count these as calories, always count them. If you're not, never. You just wanna be consistent. As long as you're consistent, it's not gonna matter at all. But getting into these particular ones are unflavored. So unflavored BCAAs, I'd say there's pros and cons to that. Pros, doesn't hinder the taste of your pre-workout, doesn't hinder the taste of any shakes. Cons, if you like to mix branch chains with like 30 ounces of water and drink that, or a gallon of water like this and drink it throughout the day, it's not gonna make it taste any better. It might even make it taste a little weird. But unless you're somebody in contest prep or an elite level athlete, they're not gonna give you too many benefits. All right, next thing I'm gonna get into is their volcanic CLA. CLA stands for conjugated linoleic acid. Now what CLA primarily does, it's basically a fatty acid that you really mainly find in meat and dairy. I don't know if it's just red meat and dairy. I think red meat might have a little bit higher amount of it, but there's a lot of studies that show it is beneficial, and a lot of people who do believe in it. Just for general, like basic purposes, I pulled up an article on bodybuilding.com, increased metabolic rate, enhanced muscle growth, lower cholesterol and triglycerides. Now, a lot of this stuff, you have to remember, it sounds awesome, but to the degree that it helps, you know, it could do all of these things on that list. It just, you know, might do those by 0.5%. I want to talk about their test stack product next. For the ingredients, I'll go through them next. You have a pro test complex, which is tribulus, horny goat weed, typical just, you know, natural testosterone herb ingredients that I'm sure many of you have heard before. Those are 2 ingredients that are probably going to elevate your natural test levels, but just keeping it real here, taking your natural test levels from where they might be now to a certain point still in the natural range is going to help you with things. It might help you with things like libido. You might get a little bit extra acne, but it's not going to elevate your tests so high that you're going to make like the type of gains you would make from injecting real testosterone. Just because you're not going to those super physiological levels, you're within the natural range still, but you're a little bit higher. So, you know, you might get a little extra boners if that's something you're looking for. If you do dabble in other areas, I guess you could throw this in your PCT to bring the boys back, if you know what I mean, if you're experiencing some shutdown. But other than that, not too much to say about this. All right, guys, so the last thing I want to get into of this stack that I have is L-Carnitine. Now, this is liquid L-Carnitine that I haven't even used yet. The primary purpose of L-Carnitine, from what I've read in the past, from what I've researched, is it breaks down long-chain fatty acids or triglycerides into mitochondria. So basically, you know, in layman terms, you're using fat it's more readily available for energy. So you're taking fat cells and just converting them to energy. That's great, right? That's obviously a positive benefit. Again, to the extent that L-Carnitine does this, unless you are in a very specific scenario like contest prep, which even then, you may not notice it a whole lot. It can be beneficial. I'm not knocking this. I'm not knocking CLA, because there's studies to back both of them. There's studies that prove both of them in the past. But again, it's not something that I personally have always incorporated in my supplement line. And it's not something that is necessary to achieve a great physique. You don't need this to get shredded. You don't need carnitine to build a lot of muscle. But it can definitely help you. So that's this supplement line, guys. It's called Myology by Puritan Pride. It's Puritan.com, I guess. Thanks, Puritan, for sending this to me. I gave my unbiased, completely honest review. Again, I think a lot of these things are effective. I don't think all of them are necessary. However, solid supplement line. Again, thanks, Puritan, for sending this to me. You guys know what I like. You guys know what I normally use. And you guys know what I recommend. And you know what I don't. So I hope you guys, you know, check these out online and see for yourself if you like the price, if you like the ingredient list.